Good morning, girls. It's Wednesday, April 29th, 2020. It is Miss Ferguson. Today we're going to be talking about text structures. We've been working with nonfiction text this week because our lessons in our individual packets have been on integrating two nonfiction sources when we are writing about a topic. So today we're going to be talking about text structures and how they help us and why they're important. And we're going to be using 5 different soccer passages to help us explore those new text structures. So before we get started, why don't we first talk about what we mean when we talk about text structures? What is a text structure? Well, text structures are used in nonfiction writing. Text structure refers to how the author organizes the information that he or she wishes to present. We've talked a lot about how organization in our writing is very important. It helps the reader understand. So, as an author, we want to make sure that we organize what we write so that the reader is best able to take the information away that we are trying to present. Why is this important? Well, understanding how that information is organized is going to help us comprehend what we read. And what's another word for comprehend? Understand. So these text structures help us understand what we read. Authors who use text structures to organize their nonfiction writing help readers learn and retain what they have read. What do you think it means to retain what you have read? It means that we are able to keep that information. If we read something and then can't understand it or forget about it a minute later, then it doesn't help us and we didn't learn from it. So we want to be able to read and then learn and keep that information in our brain. So we're going to take a look at the different text structures and we're going to use those 5 different soccer passages to explore the 5 most common text structures. The first one that we're going to talk about is description, or sometimes called topical. So when you're reading, ask yourself, is this piece of writing describing something? So think about there being a topic, and then there are different details describing that topic. For example, we read about the redwood trees in our news ELA article. So that would be the topic of that article. And then there were different details to support that. So they were describing the redwood trees. Sometimes when you're reading multi-paragraph descriptive passages, each paragraph describes a different aspect of the topic. So, for example, paragraph 1 might have one descriptive detail about a topic, but paragraph 2 might be about a different descriptive detail. And paragraph 3 might be about yet another descriptive detail. Let's take an example from this passage about soccer. Soccer is one of the most popular sports in the world. Millions of people play soccer. It is a fairly simple game to learn. Players try to move the ball down the field and kick it into their goal. However, a goalie stands in front of the goal and tries to block any shot the other team makes. If a team gets the ball in the goal, they score 1 point. Players need to know the rules. You are not allowed to touch the ball with your hands unless you are the goalie or you are throwing the ball onto the field from the sideline. You are also not allowed to tackle other players. The referee watches to make sure each player follows the rules. To play soccer, you need just a few items. You need to have a ball, a large area of grass, and goals. Many players wear special shoes called cleats. These shoes have points on the bottom to help players run without slipping. Many players also wear shin guards. These protect a player's legs from getting kicked. So think about that text for a minute. What makes that piece a descriptive structure? So what did we just read about soccer that shows us in that text that it was a descriptive structure? Well, let's think about it. The topic was soccer, but the first paragraph told us how the game was played. And the second paragraph moved on to tell us about the rules. And lastly, the third paragraph told us about the different clothing and equipment that you would use in soccer. So that descriptive structure had soccer, and then each paragraph was a different aspect of soccer. Another common nonfiction text structure is sequence, or you might hear it as sequential or in time order. Ask yourself, is this piece of writing telling me the order of events? Okay, first think of a timeline. First, they might have the word first or a date, like 1850. They might say next, or they might have another date that's in the future. They might say finally, and there might be an even newer date. Let's take a look at an example of a sequential text structure. Soccer is a game that has been played for numerous years. In fact, many people believe that it began in England over 800 years ago. About 200 years ago, in the early 1800s, boys in England played a sport like soccer, but they called it football. However, each school made up their own rules. In 1863, a group of players met and wrote official rules for soccer. Soccer started spreading to other countries. In 1904, an international group called FIFA, FIFA, formed to make sure that every team around the world followed the same soccer rules. Today, soccer is one of the most popular sports in the world. So what did you see in that passage that shows you it has a sequence structure? And if you need to go back and take a look at it and pause, you can go back just like that and pause the video. What do you notice that shows me it is a sequence text structure? Well, first it started off by telling me that it began in England 800 years ago. Then they gave us the date of the early 1800s where it was called football. They told us that in 1863, soccer rules were written, and in 1904, World Soccer Group was formed called FIFA. So they gave us a timeline or a sequence of events about soccer and its creation. The last one we're going to talk about today, because we'll finish with the other two tomorrow, is compare and contrast. Ask yourself, is this piece of writing telling me how things are alike and different? We have a picture of a graphic organizer here. What's the name of this graphic organizer? If you said Venn diagram, you are correct. Venn diagram shows us topic A and topic B. In the middle where they intersect, that's where the things that are alike go, the things they have in common. And then in their own circles, that's where the things that are different go. Soccer and football are alike in a few ways, but have many differences. One similarity is that there are 11 players on the field at one time in both soccer and football. They are both popular sports in the United States, and they both require the use of a ball and a field. The differences between soccer and football are numerous. Soccer players use a ball shaped like a sphere, whereas football players use a ball that has two ends. In soccer, players are trying to send the ball into the goal. However, in football, players are trying to get the ball in the end zone or through the goal posts. The rules are also different. In soccer, players are rarely allowed to touch the ball with their hands, while football players frequently touch the ball. Football players are allowed to tackle, but this is forbidden in soccer. These are just a few ways that soccer and football are different. Nonetheless, most people agree that both soccer and football are fun sports. So what did you see in that text that shows me it has a compare and contrast structure? Well, let's see. What's our first topic? Soccer, and our second topic is football. They are both sports, so they are alike in that aspect. In both, the ball can be kicked, and both have 11 players on the field. However, in soccer, we have a sphere-shaped ball, but in football, the ball has two ends. Soccer has a goal, football has an end zone. In soccer, you can rarely touch the ball with your hands, but in football, you frequently touch the ball with your hands. And in soccer, tackling is absolutely forbidden, but in football, tackling is allowed. So ladies, we are going to start tomorrow with cause and effect. We're going to learn about other two text structures and then do practice with all five. Your assignments for today are, of course, after the lesson, you need to do your independent assignment. Your independent assignment is going to be to go back to the ELA packet that you are doing your individual pages in. Not only are you completing your individual pages for the day, 384, 385, and 390, but I want you to take the text you read today and tell me the text structure. What text structure do you notice in your text today about Henry Hudson? So I want you on a separate piece of paper to identify the text structure, and I want you to give me details from the text, perhaps words, phrases, or other clues that help you understand what the text structure is. And lastly, you need to make sure you go on to News ELA and do today's article and accompanying quiz. So, packet work, identify the text structure of today's packet writing piece, and send to me and your News ELA. And this is always, of course, in addition to your 35 minutes of reading and getting a daily signature. Have a great day, girls, and be ready to talk about text structures again tomorrow.